Welcome to the Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom podcast. My name is Jacob Kuker, but my friends call me Cub, and you should too. I'm your host for today's episode. I've got an absolutely incredible episode planned called Secret Code of Eden. This is something that I'm very, very excited to get into today because there's an overwhelming push about the Garden of Eden being a literal place. And that's not really what I teach or believe. So, Secret Code of Eden. This is Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom with KukerPodcast, episode 578, formerly the Kuker Supernatural Podcast. So, I'm super stoked to be here with you guys today. Mario, what's going on? Pamela Joy in the house. Miguel, what is up? Iskar, how are you doing? Rowan, welcome. Letty Solis, thank you for being here. Cece, what's up? Chiquioni, how are you? Pepe, welcome, my friend. Sunsets, how's it going? Omni 20, thank you guys for joining me today for the broadcast. What I'm going to share today is actual secret, hidden, powerful knowledge that has the full potentiality to completely unlock your reality. This is one of the deepest esoteric things that I think I teach. It is one of the most difficult to understand. It has been the most difficult for me to understand, and it's certainly the most difficult for people who are deconstructing from the church construct to understand. So, quick disclaimer, this is a non-religious podcast. I'm not here to debate religion. I'm not here to step on anyone's belief systems. What I am here to do is challenge the status quo of the mind and what we are all collectively thinking together. And I think that is very important. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. If you blindly follow, you might find yourself running into a wall. So that's what Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom is all about. What really happened in the past and what is the wisdom behind that. I do not get into things on a literal scale here. I will talk about things from time to time that are a bit literal, but I really like to look into the deep esoteric data because that is what it means to you. The Garden of Eden story, as we're going to go through it today, will unlock something in you if you are willing to open your heart and mind to it, because this is the potent data that allows you to stop viewing this story as a literal story of two people in a garden with a literal snake and an apple, okay, as you've been sold the story your whole life. What it is a secret code that actually, I believe, unlocks your true spiritual destiny and your true spiritual awakening. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're getting into today. And you don't want to miss today's episode. So welcome, Kabiku, welcome, Lucy, welcome, Jennifer, welcome, Frosty, welcome, Checo, welcome, Don, welcome, Wills, welcome, Our True History, welcome, Debbie, what is going on, my friend? User 607, how are you? Malik, welcome. Kenny Mao, what is up? Kenny says, my 11-month-old son loves this podcast. Brother, thank you so much. Glad that you are sharing this with the world, friends, family, everyone. So thank you, my friend. Malik says they were light beings. We're going to talk about that. That's very possible. But I'm going to talk about a very different side of this. Not they were, but you are. And we're going to flip this. And I promise by the end of today's episode, you're going to take the Garden of Eden story out of time and history and put it right here where it belongs, inside you, and understand your ascension journey as Jesus Christ himself taught, as Buddha and Krishna and many other avatars taught. Gustavo, how are you, my friend? Gustavo says, what's up, Jacob? Kenny says, definitely hyped for today's enlightenment. Thank you, brother. I am very excited to bring it. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. As always, guys, if you've been watching the podcast for any amount of time, I am continuing to read from my new book, Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom. You can find that at mysteriesofancientwisdom.com. You can check out the free bundle right now. I've got a bundle with a bunch of freebies. It's not a free bundle, but it's got a bunch of freebies in it. The Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom Academy bundle with a free book and free community membership for a year. It is an insane deal, like literally insane deal. Go check that out. And if you message me during today's broadcast, like right now while I'm live, If you message me on TikTok, if you message me on Twitter, message me on X, message me on YouTube, message me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching, shoot me a message and I will give you an extra 10% off the already insanely discounted price. So you can scan that QR code right there, get yourself the pre-launch bundle. You're going to save a ton of money and it's got everything packed into it. So if you like this info, I'm going to take you so deep, not only in the book, but in the academy, on the calls, in the community, everything that we're doing. We do calls most Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to go deep, deep, deep into this stuff. So I'll talk more about that later, everything you get. But that is what I'm reading from today. A lot of you guys will ask as I get into this. It's very potent information, very potent wisdom. And a lot of people go, hey, Cub, what are you reading from? I got to get me some of this. That's what it's from, Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom. Fantastic book, guys. The proposed launch date for it right now is still set for September 22nd. Everything is on track for that. Looking forward to that date. The book is looking fantastic. Cannot wait to share it with you guys. So, Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is what you make it. The origin of your unity with the Creator or the realization of the serpent. Which path do you choose? Both will bring you home. Okay. You've probably been taught that they don't both bring you home. You've probably been taught that the Garden of Eden story is original sin, right? One of my good buddies wrote a book as well. He's definitely more of a scholar than I am. He wrote a book called Original Sin is a Lie. And I think he pretty well, mic drop, proved the point that Garden of Eden, it ain't about original sin. It ain't about this idea that that's where the fall of humanity. In fact, I dropped a short video today, and one of the first comments on it over on TikTok was that if there was no Adam and Eve, that there was no original sin. And if there was no original sin, there was no line of Abraham, and there was no Jesus and no reason for that. And I said, funny you mentioned that, because I'm about to do a podcast about it. And we're going to get deep, deep, deep into it and why you've been lied to about that. Let's just be really honest. Do you, in your heart of hearts, really think there's a fiery abyss that you're going to go to because your great, 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 great grandparents ate an apple? No. Okay. Especially when you know where the stories come from. They come from the Sumerian pantheon and the story of the origin of man, or Eden, which is Garden of Eden, which was an outdoor laboratory, according to the myth, where the Anunnaki were creating human beings. That's what that myth is about. Then in the Hebrew mythos, it got adopted in because where did they come from? They came from Egypt. Where did Egypt get a lot of its stuff? From Sumer, from this Fertile Crescent. They were all the cradle of civilization, and they're all retelling and telling the same stories in their own tongue. Okay. So very, very important to understand where all of this stuff comes from. So when we get into this, this is why this has the power to unlock your mind, because when you do this, you stop worrying about all these little dumb things in this material world, and you start realizing that you have the potential to return to God now, not when you die, not at a later date, not after you walk down to the altar and take communion and get baptized and confess your life to Jesus, but when you actually follow the teachings that Jesus himself laid out. Because he says, not everyone who calls me Lord, Lord will be saved, but only those who do the will of my Father. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So Malik says, thank you for speaking on this. I've been telling people it's not what they seem to. It's not. The original sin was pride, and that was in heaven. Hey, here's the deal. Again, not objectively, brother, not objectively. I'm going to reveal that today, and I'm going to get you thinking in a completely different way if you're ready for it, okay? So when we go into this place and we go Garden of Eden, oh, it was pride in heaven, and then now you get into the Lucifer mythology. Lucifer's not a real being, guys. It's not an objective being. Lucifer is an idea. Lucifer is actually referring to Venus, the morning star that was prideful before the Son of God, the sun, rose on the horizon. And so talk a lot about that in the book as well. And this gets really deep, really cool. So What this is about, too, is, again, not an objective reality of people or light beings or any of this stuff, but rather I'm going to show you guys the allegory today of what the entire map and story of Garden of Eden means to your actual body and your actual experience of God, or what we're going to agree is God, what is the higher mind, source, the creator, the father, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about what the serpent actually is today as well. So Malik says, go for it. I'm open. Molly, what is going on? Molly says, each culture puts their own spin on each story. Absolutely, 1,000%. That's why you cannot take any of these stories and go, this is the verbatim God's honest truth. You have to understand how to read esotericism, how to read the occult hidden language within all of these stories, whether it's the Sumerian stories, the Egyptian stories, the Norse stories, the Christian stories, the Hebrew stories, whatever it is, it's all been filtered through their own cultural adaptations. It doesn't mean it's not true, but it does mean it's not true in the literal sense that you and I have been taught it's true. There is a deeper truth, and that's called esoteric truth. Esoteric means something hidden and buried within. It's all about what happens within you when you know the thing versus what is happening outside. That would be exotericism. So we're talking about esotericism, which means to go within. So Rhonda Weeks, how are you? Rhonda says, unconditional love, my peeps. The only thing that can eliminate evil that doesn't reveal and eliminate itself. Here's the deal, my friend Rhonda. If you really look at the illusion, and we're going to talk about that today too, there is no evil. In fact, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Peter says, Lord, what is sin? What is the sin of the world? And Jesus reveals to him, he says, there is no sin. For sin is only that which you do, which is like adultery. And what he's revealing is when you divorce yourself from the Spirit of God, from the higher consciousness, from out of this world, when you divorce yourself from that and you step out on that in an adulterous way, that is what sin is. It has nothing to do with eating an apple. It has nothing to do with procreation, has nothing to do with any of this stuff. What it has to do is with the adoption of duality versus non-duality. And non-duality is the path back to God. And we're going to show today, even in the Hebrew, what the actual flaming sword at the Garden of Eden was, because there's a hidden language in the Hebrew language that I'm going to share today that actually reveals what this flaming sword is. And it is not a literal flaming sword at a physical garden. It is actually a part of your own body, a part of your own metaphysical existence. Joe Burke, what is up, brother? I am doing fantastic. Thank you for being here, my friend. Miss Violet Reyes says, its denial is what keeps it alive in the shadows. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gustavo says, so Venus is Lucifer and Satan is Saturn. You got it, my friend. Absolutely. When Jesus conquered Satan in the wilderness, he actually conquered Saturn, or Kronos. Kronos, Saturn, Satan, the accuser, came to him saying, hey, you're going to be bound by my six-sided principle being up, down, left, right, forward, backward. That is the three-dimensional space. By telling him, hey, you need to eat. Hey, you need to save yourself. Hey, you need to own this kingdom. Hey, you need to do all these things. Satan is tempting him. And that is merely Saturn, the planet, and all the material realm needs and wants and ideologies that were tempting Jesus as he was meditating and as he was yoking with the divine spirit of God within him. And that right there is exactly how you conquer Satan. And I watched a good friend of mine today do the same thing by meditating, by going within and crushing the illusion of Saturn in this material world and all the things that he thinks are real in this world. Same thing with all of us, by the way. It's all a reflection, right? Okay. Selena says, I love having these discussions. Me too, my friend. Me too. And I'll take some more questions and comments here in a minute. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for watching today. This series has been incredibly popular. Thank you guys for the support. Thanks for showing up every day. Let's jump into the book, Garden of Eden. Pronunciation, Garden of Eden. Eden, E-E-D-E-N. And it's an upside down E. I put all this in the book too, so you guys can look at etymology, can look at the origin of the word, and then I'm going to go through the actual mythology here, as well as modern conspiracy theory, cosmology of the land, origin of the land, etc. And you're going to see how this paints a picture. And here at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you exactly what the map of the Garden of Eden is on your body, because once you see it, and hear me out, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to church and hear a literal story of the Garden of Eden. Once you see it, can't unsee it. So stay awake with me, my friends. That's what we're here to do. That's what the book is for, to keep you awake so you can't be controlled. Let's say it with me, to keep you awake so you can't be controlled. The meaning is the paradise of origin, or the dwelling with God. Origin of the word is from the Hebrew Gan Eden. Gan Eden meaning garden of delight. So we didn't even just call it a garden. It was actually Gan Eden, which is just a phrase in the Hebrew. The Gan Eden is a garden of delight or garden of pleasure. Okay. So they were actually calling it a garden of pleasure, already tying it to the sacral reproductive chakra where passion and reproduction unfold. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you will have to look that up because I can't talk about it on the interwebs here. So, but it is in the book. I go deep into the chakras, Book of Revelation, all of the different things, unveiling the actual hidden meanings of these things. So, this is connected to the Akkadian Adinu from the Sumerian Adin, meaning plain or fertile steep. Okay, fertile steep. The original envisionment of this space was that it was like steps. Think step pyramid. Think the hanging gardens of Babylon. Think Jacob's ladder, these kind of steps of ascension, right? And so the original Akkadian here, we're looking at a fertile steep. And you can look up what a steep is, but it's essentially these like, stepped pyramids, if you look at them, or a sort of a cove of land that goes up a hill, kind of like where the Sermon on the Mount was preached. So it's really like, a place on a hill, kind of built in this perfect fertile area where you can see everything, the fertile steep. So in Latin, it becomes paradisus, later giving rise to the English word paradise. So already we have this kind of evocation of a deeper mystery here, and understanding that like you're in this paradise, you're like one with God, right? And again, this is not like a literal physical thing. You can't literally physically walk with God, okay? If that is happening, then your God is an alien, right? And so then we have a whole nother conversation about the Old Testament. That's where you get ancient astronaut theory. But for today, we're going to talk about this as complete allegory, which I think is the most potent of all the interpretations. Not that aliens came and created people as Anunnaki, but that this is all happening within you, and that the mythos and the mythology tells a deeper story about who you are, right? So I love that somebody called Cub187 just joined with my profile picture. You just gave yourself away, dude. So I'm going to have to go and take care of that account, apparently. So don't be using my profile pictures, guys. And if it wasn't me, it sure looked like me. So I'll have to go back and check that, because a lot of people try to jack my account and try to go and hustle people thinking that they're me. So it's not me. I only have one account on every platform, at Cub Kuker, at CUBKUKER, not Cub one, whatever that was. Anyway, so if you guys see those, please let me know so that I can get them taken care of with the platforms. So any thoughts on Zoroastrianism? Yes, and I'll get to that here in a minute. Don't let the system control your soul. Amen, Molly. 1,000% agreement on that. Amen. It tries to, at every step of the way, it tries to, from the moment you walk into church, to the moment you walk into a government building, to the moment you go to school, to the moment you go to the supermarket, to the moment you turn the TV on, guys. You cannot escape this systemic control of your mind, your heart, and literally your soul. Okay. And I'm not here to spread conspiracy theories. I'm here to keep you awake. And I am qualified to do that because I've been put back to sleep many, many times. Okay. And I am having to go hard right now, hard in the paint to keep myself awake. And that was when I had the idea, I got to just write the book on this so that I have something to go back to all the time, because there's literally not another book like this out there. And there was nothing that I could find that would just help keep me awake. And I'm like, what better way than to write it for myself? And I get to share that with everybody else. So that's really, really cool. So as we keep going into this, the legend of the land, is that the Garden of Eden is remembered as the primordial paradise planted by the hand of God, allegedly, eastward in Eden. Within its bounds grew every tree pleasant to the eye and good for food, including the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Here, the first man, Adam, and the first woman, Eve, dwelled in harmony within creation, walking with God in the cool of the day. We won't even get into that. And why is that? That's where you get a lot of ancient astronaut theory about the Anunnaki needing to be in the cool of the day, and that this God was not actually the spirit of God, but rather a lower being, higher being than humans, but lower being than God. So that's pretty easy to pick up from it. But again, we're going to dig deeper into the allegory of this. So they're walking in the cool of the day. The serpent's whisper lured to them to transgress the one command, eating of the forbidden trees. Their eyes were opened and innocence was lost as non duality gave way to duality. Banished east of Eden, they carried the mark of mortality, while cherubim and a flaming sword guarded the path of the tree of life. The ground was cursed and they were doomed to toil. And this is where it gets interesting. The origin of the land. Again, that's the myth behind it, the legend of the land. Origin of the land, scripture describes Eden as a wellspring of four rivers. This is very important, and the allegory I'm going to share here in a little bit, super important to that. Fishon, Gishon, Tigris, and Euphrates. Okay, suggesting a fertile land between Mesopotamia and Armenia. Traditions vary. Some place it at the head of the Persian Gulf, and others in the Armenian highlands, and still others across the Fertile Crescent. In Sumerian tales, it echoes Eden, the paradise of the gods, where Adamu or Adapa was formed through the essence of the divine council and gestated by the mother goddess Mamie, which is where we get the word mommy from, by the way. For the Hebrews, Eden was not only a geographic space or place, but an archetype, a temple garden reflected later in Solomon's temple, where God and humanity walked together. Across cultures and ages, Eden is the model for all sacred gardens and sanctuaries. And this is where it gets so deep, okay? So now we're going to be moving into some Hebrew mysticism. This is beautiful stuff. So Cynthia says, as God is within, everything is within. Amen, my friend. Amen, Cynthia. 1,000%. Molly says, that is fulfilling your mission, man. Amen, Molly. Thank you, my friend. Glad to finally figure it out. It's taken me a while. I'm dumb enough, don't ever accuse me of being smart, right? I'm just stubborn enough to keep going and try to figure things out and realize when I'm not in a good place and I need to shift and continue to find true north. So that if I have one strength, it's stupidity and stubbornness to continue to seek the truth. So that is what it is. I am no guru, my friends. The more I know, the less I know. And that's exactly why I'm writing the book, so that I can start to take some of the things I know, set them down as a framework and a pattern for myself to remember going forward, and literally answering all of these thousands of questions I've gotten by doing this podcast over the years, and start to fill in all of those blanks so that everybody can hopefully get on the same page and we can raise consciousness together and keep you from being controlled. And I'm looking at me. I'm looking at me because they try to get me over and over. And I'm not talking they, I'm talking they as in the ego within, right? So you got to stay focused and you got to stay into the truth. Molly says tenacity. Yes, absolutely. Definitely have that. So, cosmology of the land. Eden belongs to the element of air. So I've got a whole chapter in the book on fabled lands. And Eden is one of the last ones in that section. And in that section of these fabled lands, I'm going through 4 of the main core fabled lands, and I show you how they're connected to earth, water, wind, and fire. Like, quite literally, it's wild how these main fabled lands, it's almost like if you were to bring them all together, you'd have all the elements together, or all of the original occult elements together, and you would have the potentiality to create any reality you wanted by combining all of these. Tomorrow, I'll try to go through Lemuria. Lemuria is fascinating. That's going to be more in the crystalline cities and stuff like that. They believe it's in Mount Shasta now, or at least on a psychic level. We're going to go into some of the other really cool ones I put in there. I don't want to give it away yet. We'll get to those, but they're really, really cool. So Eden belongs to the element of air, the breath of life that animates creation. This is why the tree of life in this garden is so important. Its cosmology is that of harmony. Humanity walking with God, all things receiving breath from the center. That's going to be important to the code I'm going to share here at the end. The tree of life extends its branches like ventricles of the human lung, nourished by the rivers flowing in four directions, symbolizing the spreading of life to the world. Eden is the state before duality, before knowledge divided good from evil, where unity still reigned. Its banishment is not only a tale of the first sin, but an allegory of the sine wave, as light beings descended into matter. And that's where, brother, as I was saying, I'm talking about light beings in here. But the light beings, to me, are not objective beings outside of the self. They actually represent you and what your actual soul is. It's a being of light. And when you forget that, you fall in grace, which is not what the church tells you. To fall from grace is to fall from light into matter. The fallen state of light is matter, because matter is actually lower vibrating light. And we know that because you can measure it with what's called a sine wave, SINE, or sin. So to be in sin is to be out of frequency with the higher light code of your true self. That is literally the best description of sin that I've ever given or had or thought about. And when you begin to understand that, it totally changes what you think of sin. Sin is not this objective thing that you did something and you're evil and you're going to HELL. It is this separation from truth and spirit, from the higher light frequency that you actually are, into the illusion that you believe you are a flesh and blood being, because it's all vibrating light. Even quantum physics is starting to say startlingly the same thing as all of these ancient occult and esoteric teachings are saying, which is we are beings of light fallen from grace, aka into the sine wave or sin of the material world. We have fallen to the world of Satan. Satan is the god of this world. Saturn is the god of physical matter, laws, and constructs. That's literally what this Bible thing is talking about when it says that Satan tempted Jesus. Satan wanders the earth looking for someone to devour. He's looking for someone to blind, just like he is to his own principles, so that you will worship him and go, I got to find all my happiness here. And I think it goes even deeper than what you think about commercialism and all this stuff. I think a lot of us in the spiritual community are pretty well over that. We just want to take care of our families and friends and stuff like that, live in a nice space where we can be peaceful and live in a nice community, stuff like that. But, we're not looking to buy like all these PlayStations and crazy toys and stuff, right? So I really think, like, on even a deeper sense, Satan or Hasatan or Saturn tricks all of us, even in the spiritual community, into just believing that any of this is real, into believing that your friend who's mad at you over something that doesn't make sense is even a real experience, because it's all just a reflection of you and your secret hatred for yourself. And if you read things like Course in Miracles, it gets deep into this stuff and the idea of forgiveness. And you have to actually love and forgive yourself, or you can never love and forgive anyone else. You don't even know who you truly are if you're trying to separate things and look at all these experiences in your life as objective experiences rather than subjective reflections and projections of your own mind, arranging light in a lower vibrational form that you believe is real. That's what's called simulation theory. And I get really deep into that in this as well. You don't have to believe in the big video game to understand that there's a really good chance that you might actually be co-creating all of this. And it's wild. It's wild. Steph says, so your soul into your meat suit. Exactly. Because this is just a robot that my soul is operating, right? Your true light being is just operating this lower vibrational, lower density, thing that thinks it's the real thing. That's why there is life after death. There is no death. That's Jesus says that over and over. And when you realize your true self, then you don't taste death because you just get to walk right out of your body and go take another form or be reincarnated or go on to a higher vibrational being. And that's, to me, that's one of the most beautiful mysteries, is like all of these things from the Garden of Eden to the book of Revelation, to the Hindu scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures, everything. They're all explaining the same phenomenon, which is how are you alive and how are you going to die and what does that even mean? That's all they're explaining, by the way. None of them are trying to give you hacks to win the lottery or any of that stuff. That's what humans turn all that into. But when you realize who you are on the inside, you get everything you want and need because you start creating that in your universe because it's reflecting the abundance already within you. And I talked about that on our money session the other day. That will change your life. If you have not watched that one, go back and watch the actual magic occult spell written on your money. And I teach you how to reverse engineer that for your own understanding, your own ascension, and your own co-creation mechanism rather than having it used against you. And that gets deep. So, oh no, almost lost the stream. There we go. I'm back. I hit a button and it like flashed away and went to a different screen. So, the element of air, the breath of life emanating from the center, the tree of life extends its branches like ventricles of the human lung, nourished by rivers flowing in four directions, symbolizing the spreading of life into the world. Eden is a state before duality, knowledge of good and evil, where unity still reigned. Its banishment not only is a tale of the first sin, but an allegory of the sine wave. I'm reading that again because this is important. The sine wave, as light begins to descend into matter. Modern conspiracy theory. This is where it gets fun. Eden has been sought in many lands. Explorers and mystics alike claim to rediscover its rivers and plains. Columbus thought he glimpsed its shores on the shores of South America. Like, he actually legit thought that. It's actually in his writings. I didn't know that, but I, through researching for this book, found that out. While others traced it to Mesopotamia, Jerusalem, or distant regions of the world, Gnostic teachings reinterpreted Eden as the place of hidden knowledge guarded by the demiurge, the ignorant creator god. Somebody commented demiurge. Exactly. You're on the same. Yeah, Yaldabaoth. I venture commented. Exactly. The demiurge, the ignorant creator god, who sought to keep humanity from awakening. In this view, the serpent was the revealer of truth. For Adam and Eve did not die when they ate of the fruit, but they were instead expelled by angelic guardians to prevent them from accessing the tree of life. Modern mystics suggest Eden is encoded in the human mind as a template of perfection that awakens when the two become one. And this is where we're getting into our map here. The left and the right brain reconciled in unity, aka the two cherubims. Eden remains forever tied to ancient temples, hidden locations, and subterranean sanctuaries, suggesting its gates may still exist, veiled from mortal sight. Again, mortal sight. So there is page 1 of Garden of Eden. Now I'm going to get into page 2, and this is where the artwork is. You'll have to check out the book to see the artwork. I'm not showing any of that online until the book is fully published. The wisdom note on this, I've got a wisdom note with the artwork, and then I have the description of the artwork, which takes the information page and digs deeper into the esoteric side of all of this. So this is where it gets really, really interesting, y'all. The wisdom note, it says, "And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die." Genesis 3:4. In this moment, the serpent becomes the challenger of certainty, the whisper that the truth may not be what it seems. Eden is not only a paradise lost, but a question posed. Was the serpent deceiver or revealer? Let me know in the comments what you think. Was the serpent deceiver or revealer? To hear his words is to confront the foundations of belief itself. For only by daring to question can the soul discern whether the forbidden fruit was a curse or the first taste of awakening. And that's the big question, my friends. And that's a question I can't answer for you, but this book will help you unlock the ideas within you to answer these questions for yourself and dig deeper into yourself to decide what you actually believe. Because let me be very clear, it matters what you believe. Not because your soul is at stake, not because you're going to be thrown into the fiery furnace, but because it affects your life. Because if you don't know what you believe, you are operating on base programming that's already been fed to you by a construct that clearly does not have your best interest in mind. So the first step to breaking free is defining what you actually believe. And lest you be bound by it, be careful. So if you set up too many rules and regulations for yourself, you end up bound in a prison of your own making. If you, like I try to teach in the book, understand all the signs and symbols, and rather than adopting a belief system, you begin to understand just what is truth universally written in code across all things, and you begin to see rather than say, "This is what I believe." You can start to see and understand the truth and say, "I believe truth," rather than "I believe a belief system." And that's exactly what the book is designed to do, is help reveal that to you and through you. Again, not because I'm your guru, but because it triggers you into thinking deeper. And that's very, very important. So we're going to get into this. Some people know where I'm going with this. Good for y'all. Some people don't. So we're going to dive in now. The map that I have here is of the human body, and I'm going to explain it. It's beautiful. Again, I can't share it till I get this published. Just keeping everything under lock and key until it's fully published for obvious reasons. So I have what is reminiscent of a Vitruvian man, the age-old drawing of the man standing with his arms out and then standing with his arms up and then his legs out. And so you have essentially what forms a type of pentagram with this Vitruvian man. You have all the points there. And then at his feet and growing all the way up through his sacral chakra, which is his reproductive area, you have this red tree growing up, the tree of desire, the tree of rooting into this reality, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Around that tree, you have the serpent wrapped around it. And the serpent is purple in this, and then the other tree is red. I did some cool colors on this. In the lungs, I have the tree of life, and they look like leaves growing as the lungs, and that is where the breath of life is. Now, that is not the place of life. The place of life is higher than that. The tree of life is only connected to the place of life. If you cut off the tree of life, then you cut off the place of life unless you just know where the place of life is. That's where the serpent and what I'm about to reveal, what is called the flaming sword. And I'm going to show you exactly why that does not mean what you've been taught in church. And it's actually a lot cooler. That is where the flaming sword comes in at the top of the head here, or at the top of Eden, or the gate to Eden. The gate to Eden being the crown chakra. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So think of this. You got root and sacral chakra. That is where the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, duality, reproduction, passion, making the two into one, making one out of the two, right? You make a little baby. You've got this very dualistic experience there, right? That you begin to think is real. Man, woman, child, adult, left and right, red and blue, like all the different dualistic things that we experience in this reality, right? That is where somebody says, "You the boss." Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. So that is where we get into the map here. This piece portrays the body as Eden, the hidden garden inscribed upon human form. And this is the code that's important to you. The arms and the legs flow as the four rivers, carrying the abundance of life into the world, while the lungs rise as the tree of life. Not just physically, but allegorically connecting us to the place of life, the mystery of existence, with every breath sustaining both spirit and flesh. At the root, the tree of knowledge of good and evil dwells in the reproductive center, the threshold of desire and duality. And at the center of the mystery is the serpent rising as Kundalini fire, climbing the spine towards the mind's eye. Here, the flaming sword appears, and the Hebrew calls it Lahat Ha Charev Ha Mithat Pek et. That's the best Hebrew I can speak. So there you go. The whirling sword of blazing magic is literally what that Hebrew phrase means. The whirling sword of blazing magic. And that is from Genesis 3:24. Yes, it's right there in your Bible, my friends. You're not going to hear that in Sunday school. You're not going to hear that in church. They look at this and say, well, this is an objective angel that God used and set an angel here. But when you understand, and I go deep into angelology in the book, what an angel is, it's an angle of light, it's a frequency. Then you understand that the angel guarding it is actually the third eye, the whirling sword, which, if you know about chakras, they are whirling energy centers of blazing magic. They're illuminated. They actually give off light and color according to the ancient Vedic text. This is amazing, guys. And so that's right there in Genesis. If you go and look at that Hebrew phrase, go look at the Strongs on it. That's what it actually means. And that is an eye-opening, a third eye-opening understanding when you begin to realize this is not an objective angel. This is a subjective reality within you and an experience based on your whirling sword of blazing magic, aka your third eye, set between the two cherubim, the left brain and the right brain, guarding the place of life to God, because to go through that, that's how you get to God. That's how you get to the true tree of life. Your lungs are connected to it because they're nourishing your body with life. Your arms and legs are the rivers of life, giving life to the world if you choose. And that is what this allegory is about, my friends. In this vision, the human form itself is Eden, the garden, the temple, and the path of return, guys. There's no supreme being outside of self. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is no supreme being outside of self. If you are making God an objective thing outside of you, or angels objective things outside of you, and you don't understand that everything is happening within your universe, then you're missing out on what will unlock your heart and your mind. Jesus says, when you know the truth, it will set you free. When you begin to know this truth, you cannot be controlled by the church. You cannot be controlled by your aunt and uncle or mommy or daddy or anybody that tries to tell you, you need to believe this and go this way because this is the truth about it. You begin to understand these things happening within you, and the mystery even deepens when you go, wait a minute, this is literally a story of me. This is about my incarnation here, my experience here, my awakening here. Guys, that is when the mind's eye open. Clorox says, mushy mush taker. Nope, I actually don't do that. This is all my mind. This is all my, my woo-woo, my understanding. I've asked God to show me the truth many, many, many times. And I continue to come back even deeper into these mysteries. And that's why I follow this path, because this is the thing that sets you free. And you're not free until you finally begin to understand these things. And that is the most beautiful, beautiful experience I've ever had in my life. Like no church, no getting saved, no any of that can touch what prayer, meditation, actual meditation, yoga, kundalini, all of those things to experience God and be in the throne room with God, be in that space of love with God, which is already within you. The kingdom's within you. Jesus proved that. He told you to open your third eye, to make your eye single. He taught you all of this stuff. Download, Molly says, the heart chakra is the apple of wisdom. The heart is the frequency center of love. Molly, that is beautiful. Great add-on. Great add-on. I may have to put that little tidbit in there, and I'll credit you if you like, but that's a great connection. I love that. That takes it even deeper. You see what I mean, guys? Like you get this data out and then you have all these ideas around it, and you're going to have ideas that I didn't have and put in the book because I'm just getting all of this stuff out there. But as you learn this stuff, you go like, wait a minute, whoa. And Molly, that's beautiful. That is amazing. Thank you. I love that. That makes a lot more sense than an apple. Like when you actually receive that wisdom from the serpent, and take a bite of that, and then you realize, oh, I'm man, I'm woman, I'm separate. But then you have a journey back to unity, right? And that's through the third eye, through the crown chakra. Jesus says, if you conquer even till the end, he will give you the crown of life. talking about the crown chakra, and that's in Revelation as well. So to become like children is pretty deep, Anthony. Absolutely. Jordan says true freedom is breaking free from the matrix of control, believing in the water ball globe and space fairy tales. Hey, here's the deal, dude. Quit believing that any of that is real or not real, because it's all in your mind. You're still asleep at the wheel if you're giving an objective reality to outer space or the globe or your mom or your dad or whatever. To be awake, you got to bring yourself within and begin to understand that you're manifesting everything. That's why some people live on a flat earth, some people live on a globe earth, and I don't care either way. I just know that I'm generating this experience at every turn. The baptism of fire, Marley says, absolutely, my friend. And that's exactly in the Bible, guys. The baptism of fire, the baptism of spirit, birth of spirit, the second birth, to be born again. He says you must be born of water and spirit, or fire. The spiritus in the Latin. You've got ruach, is what the Hebrew says on it. So it's all the same understanding. Some call it fire, some call it wind, some call it Shekinah glory. It is this baptism of the fire, the Kundalini fire. And when you do that, and by the way, you don't have to go to all these ancient Vedic schools and sit there and do all the weird stuff. You can do that, and I do that. But it just simply starts with sitting in a chair and quieting your mind and going into the peaceful place within, and then taking that deeper and allowing the light to shine. Jesus says, if thy eye is single, that the body will fill with light. I had a friend actually do meditation the other day after I recommended it, and he saw that light as well. So you take all this stuff and try to make it something outside of you, my friends, like space or earth or the shape of it. And that's all just the sameness of what Satan wants you to do, which is argue, debate, and try to prove right or wrong about anything in the material world, when God has told us over and over and over again, this is all subjective. You can change it overnight. Why do you think Mandela effects happen? Because you forget things, and then you remember it a different way, and you go, no, I think it was like that. And then you look it up again and you can find proof that it was like that, because it's all in your head. It's all in your head. And you can call me nuts if you want. I've been called worse. I'm telling you guys, this is not for the faint of heart. Okay. Quit going to AI and asking AI for answers when they are in you, guys. They're in you. They're right here. God said, I'm right here. I am not far from you if you go right within. Anthony says, trippy hypothesis. What if the fruit was meat, hence why God clothed them in skin? Question is, skin from what? Again, still physical, guys, still physical. Molly's on the right track. The fruit is the heart. Can't be anything else. It's got to be the heart. It's red, hangs from the tree. Where's the tree of life? Right here in the lungs. It hangs from the tree, right? What are the other ones? If you go into the male anatomy, could be something else on the male anatomy, right? But Molly has the right idea, going within. It's got to be somewhere within you, and it doesn't have to do with something out there, because God didn't actually physically do anything. God didn't clothe anybody with anything. It has to do with understanding. You see duality. Now you see animals. You go, I got to use those animals. Oh, I'm going to be unalived if it gets cold, and I got to do it. And now you have all of that duality because you've agreed that now you have to survive, which is exactly what Satan wants you to do. Survival versus thrival. The spirit says you manifest anything you want, Nate. Satan says, no, you got to do all these things, and it's all about sacrifice to get there. But God says, no, it's all about mind over matter, spirit over matter. Take the pentagram and point the top of it up to heaven. That is the mind, the spirit. That's where it comes from, my friends. It's all within. Absolutely. So, guys, I'm on one today. I'm excited. I love this stuff. Like this is one of my favorite pages in the book so far, I think, because it just unlocked so much in me as I researched for it, prayed over it, and just received. And every page of this book is something I'm receiving, working through, organizing, and I understand deeper and deeper as I do this. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the support. Go and check out the website. I want to take some questions here in a second, but real quick, go and check out the new Academy Bundle, Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom Academy Bundle with free book and community membership. You can get a free year to the community right now too. And message me during this too, and I'll give you a code for 10% off for the next hour only. So if you want an extra 10% off on the already heavily discounted, because it's all pre-launch right now, you can go look at the launch schedule. Book is planned to be headed over to the printer around the 22nd and then start shipping right after that. So right now we're on schedule with everything, which is awesome. Very excited about that. So keep supporting it. We had a ton of people support it, ton of pre-orders. Thank you guys. Keep them up. Drop them today. Like I said, if you drop them today, since it's August 28th, I'm giving you guys an extra 10% off if you want to get the book bundle, the ebook, any of that. Even if you want to join the community, I'll give you 10% off your first month into the community. But with the bundle, you can get that bundle and get everything all at once. And I'll tell you what that bundle includes. So the book is, do you want to know what Jesus and other mystics were really teaching? The truth lies in the lost symbolism of heaven within. Together, we will decode the secrets of the illusion, manifestation, ascension, and what they don't want you to know. But are you ready? And the book is called Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom, Lost Symbolism of Heaven Within. And within it, you are going to discover the creation power of the feminine and masculine. You're also going to discover how to hack into the simulated reality and awaken from the illusion. You're also going to learn how to conquer the beast within and transcend the material world. Guys, this is all in the book, and it is a really cool framework to lead you through all of these understandings. And the reason it's a cool framework is because I needed to do it to myself. So by proxy, I had to make the book where any moron could understand it. I'm pointing at me because I'm really dense when it comes to some of this stuff. And so I really go through it and tell these stories in a way that you can imagine them, but then understand the deeper meaning of them and then really think about what it means to you. And then I can take you even deeper with the Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom Academy Bundle with the free book and community. Yes, I'm going to ship you an actual physical book for free. And yes, I'm going to give you a free year to the community, as well as all of the calls we do within that year. And we do those calls most Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, so you can share your journey with others and get your questions answered, as well as receive the support you need to stay awake. In that Academy Bundle, you're going to get the downloadable ebook, the audiobook narrated by me with a lot of extra content in it, the musical meditations inspired by the book, complete video courses to take you deep into Gnosis, and a digital teaching deck so that you can easily and confidently share the mysteries with others, mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Great way to spark conversations with those. You also get early access, VIP treatment, and access to selections from the book, live calls and Q&A replays, and pre-launch update videos so you can start your journey today. And the bonuses on that, I'm packing it in here, guys. You got a ton of cool stuff in here. You get immediate access to over 500 of my legacy teachings, including the podcast archive and hundreds of coursework videos. So you can start learning today from other courses I've done in the past. So you're getting everything I've ever offered in there. Plus, you're going to get the drops of all the new stuff. Like I said, you can look up the release schedule. Right now, the book is scheduled to begin releasing on September 22nd, and we'll start shipping out. First come, first serve on all of that. And then after that, the subsequent rollout of all the digital content. But everything right now is on schedule. Everything will be out before Christmas. So if you buy now, you save a ton of money. You support the mission here if you like this type of content. And the best part is, if you get that bundle, it's not a membership you have to keep up with. You just pay once, you get a free year, you get the free book, and you literally get all the digital cool stuff with it that you can download, and you get a year access to all of that as well. And you can download any of the content you want. So go check that out, guys. Mysteriesofancientwisdom.com. Taking Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal, Afterpay, and Klarna. If you want to throw that over there, I ran the little Klarna and Afterpay thing, and it, for me, it's like $20 a month or something. It's just a stupid deal. If you really wanted to finance that out and make sure you lock in that great discount, go check that out. Mysteriesofancientwisdom.com, guys. Thank you so much for your support with that. You are going to love the book. I cannot wait to share it with you. And I can't wait to talk to you on Saturday if you get the bundle. So we're doing a call this Saturday. So come and join the call. We're going to read directly from the book. You get sneak peeks of everything. Then we get to talk about it as we go. Thank you guys for your input today. Let's do some questions. Let's get into it here. Thank you for all your hard work. David Peacock says, David, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you being here today. Molly says, translating the esoteric knowledge into modern idiocracy is your gift. Molly, thank you. That is a blessing to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's taken me a long time to figure out what my gift was. My grandma used to tell me I had the gift of gab, but that's not worth a whole lot unless you do something meaningful with it. So I'm really glad to hear that. I'm glad that this made sense to everyone. And I love talking about this. I love writing this book. The book is going to be so cool. Hardcover, beautiful matte finish. It's nice and thick. No guarantee on the pages. I'm going to do my best to keep it, in a neat order. But we're looking at between 300 and 500 pages right now. So it's a nice, weighty, compendium of all this wisdom. So very, very excited about it. Thank Blue. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for the tips and gifts over here on TikTok. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you guys for the stars on Facebook and the super chats over on YouTube. Yes, YouTube. I was like, where's the super chats at? YouTube. And then thank you guys on Twitch. We're on Twitch now. I've been getting some followers over there. A lot of new people over there as well. So thank you guys. And if you're listening to the podcast out in podcast land, on Apple or Spotify or any of the audio wave frequencies. Thank you for being here today, guys. So, okay, says, our book sales going well? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. People are pumped about it. It's keeping me motivated. I love it, guys. Thank you, guys. This is one of my favorite things that I've done so far. So thank you, guys. The journey is always going. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely, my friend. Good evening from Ontario. Thank you, my friend. So as you guys learned today, this is deep, deep, deep stuff, guys. To continue to project this stuff outside of yourself and try to figure out what really happened in a timeline is really just cutting off your own life force. That is where you have to look within. And, I had this great, okay, says, nice. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. That is where I had this kind of realization today with a conversation I was having, and an individual was kind of externalizing some stuff, and it just hit me. I'm like, this is like really hard for people to get into this internal world thing. Like everybody gets into their own internal ego world and they think about what they need, what they want, and all of those things. But it takes a lot of humility to actually push your ego out of the way, like kick it out, evict it, get it under control, and say, I'm actually creating all of this. So quit tricking me with all these ifs, ands, and buts, and let me start co-creating with my father and with my mother, because it takes two to tango, guys. God the Father and God the Mother, and you are the child. You are the son of God, okay? No objective thing outside yourself. You are the son of God. Jesus was trying to tell you that. He said, if I am in the Father and you are in me, you are in the Father too. He was trying to tell you to share his consciousness, to walk the path he was walking, and to go directly to God yourself. Honor your father and mother. You really think that was about abusive alcoholic parents, that you're supposed to honor them and just take a beating whenever they offer it up? No, guys, that is about honoring God the Father and God the Mother. Wisdom, Sophia, Kokomo, Isis, Mary Magdalene, whatever you want to call her. People argue with me all the time. They argue with me about the name of Jesus too. But again, you're missing the point. It's not the name, it's the identity, the character, and the fame thereof, the way, the path, the truth, the life, not the phonetic way you say something, my friends. So stay awake, stay on, stay in the truth, guys. This is so, so important. We've all got to stay in truth right now, firmly rooted in it. Not what a church is telling us, not what you think is in the Bible, but what you know in your heart of hearts is the thing that sets you free. We are all programmed for the external locus of control. We are taught it is an egotistical to look and trust within. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you're taught that ego is to actually look in and go, kingdom is within me. God is within me. I am in God already. I am already loved. I'm already forgiven. We're taught that that's ego. But true ego is to continue to externalize things, look for something to worship, and look for some system to follow, and say, well, it's all about my wants and needs and me satisfying this illusion I've given myself and my own insanity, right? If you read Course in Miracles, you know it's because we're just all mad at ourselves and we're all in hatred of ourselves, and it's an insane way to live. And that's why we create separation and we create these systems that we think will fix our problems rather than going within and realizing the truth within. So absolutely, Molly, I love that. Miguel says, hi, Cup. Thank you, my friend, for being here. What does Jesus mean when you eat my body and drink my blood in remembrance of me? Great question, my friend. Blue999 says, that's an awesome, awesome question. And I do have a great answer for that. So, brought up in the Catholic Church and was taught to take the Eucharist body and blood of Jesus. Yes. And that is a high magic ritual that's being done a lot. But if you dig into the deeper mystery of it, understand what he's actually saying, it says, take and eat. This is my body broken for you. Body is his metaphysical body. It's his consciousness. Okay. He's talking about body as in I'm breaking this and splitting it and sharing my body with you. Okay. It wasn't for you to take a wafer. It was for you to understand you're being adopted into the brotherhood. It was an initiation ritual into the ancient mystery school of Jesus Christ as he was teaching this. He was breaking that body and sharing it with all. And the blood is actually kinship. If you look at the actual word in Greek, when he says that, it means kinship. So take and eat. This is my body broken for you. I've split it up for you so that you can be a part of all of this. Okay. Because you're all emanations of me. And I've just split myself into all these individuations and experiences of the one true Son of God. And so that's what the body is. And then the blood is the actual brotherhood, or not the brotherhood, but the actual family, the actual adoption. You are the family. You are that part of that covenant. And that's what the blood is about. So the blood, to drink the blood, it means to consume it and become part of the family, not to take a shooter of grape juice and think that it saves you. That just wasn't what he was talking about. Body of knowledge, Molly says, exactly. So, and you can interpret that however you want, but I highly recommend go look at the Greek on that. Go look at the Strongs and actually deconstruct it. I use a tool called Bible Hub. It's free, no affiliation with them. I just really like it because you can click on a verse, you can type it in, and then click on Greek or Hebrew and go look at what the original translation said. And as you read down that, you'll understand that it's not talking necessarily about a physical body, and it's not necessarily talking physically about blood. It's talking more about brotherhood and kinship. Those are the two words you should use to replace it. Brotherhood is the bread, kinship is the blood. Brotherhood is the bread, kinship is the blood. And that's really what that ritual is about. So the more you know, right? It's pretty cool. So good words, good thoughts, and good deeds. Amen, brother. Amen. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Blue999. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, okay. Thank you, Denise. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Marley. Appreciate you guys. Y'all are awesome. Have an awesome, blessed, beautiful, fantastic day. Remember, awaken the serpent. It's not always lying to you, and it's certainly not Satan, because it is the divine feminine wisdom as it raises in Kundalini, hits your third eye, opens the throne room of God, and allows you to actually see beyond these realms, guys. That's what it means to awaken. All of this stuff is happening within you. Stop externalizing it and start internalizing it. That is not ego. That is wisdom, my friends. I love you. God bless you. Namaste. Thank you, Molly. Peace. You guys have a beautiful day. Love you guys.